The flames of war in the Middle East show no sign of stopping. Every day brings new attacks, counterattacks, and a growing toll of casualties. The situation has reached such a critical point that many fear the conflict could gradually escalate into a larger regional war. On one side stand two powerful allies, the United States and Israel, while on the other side, Iran appears to be carrying out much of the resistance largely on its own. Amid this tension, the ongoing Middle Eastern conflict has now entered its sixth day. Reports of fresh attacks have emerged from several regions, including Kuwait, Iraq, and Israel. In this war-torn situation, concern is growing across the world. The biggest focus of discussion on the sixth day of fighting has been the extensive airstrikes carried out in several Iranian cities. Israeli forces have claimed that they targeted key Iranian military installations. In particular, a series of airstrikes were reportedly conducted in the capital Tehran, the holy city Qom, several areas in western Iran, and across Isfahan province. According to Israel's claims, these strikes destroyed a building belonging to the Basij forces under Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps and part of the internal security headquarters. However, the accuracy of these claims has not yet been independently verified by any international authority. The incident in Isfahan province has raised fresh concerns in the international community, particularly because the region hosts one of Iran's important nuclear facilities. Immediately after the attack, many feared that significant damage might have been caused to nuclear infrastructure. However, the international monitoring body International Atomic Energy Agency stated that although two nearby buildings were damaged, there is currently no evidence that any facility storing nuclear materials was affected. As a result, fears of a major nuclear disaster have somewhat eased for the time being. Meanwhile, the flames of conflict are not confined to Iran alone. Tensions are also rising steadily in neighboring Lebanon. Reports indicate that Israeli airstrikes hit a highway near the airport in the capital Beirut. Local sources say the attack resulted in casualties. At the same time, a Palestinian refugee camp in the northern city of Tripoli was also reportedly targeted, further complicating the situation in Lebanon. On the other hand, Iran continues its counter-operations. Authorities in Tehran have stated that retaliatory actions are targeting areas in the Middle East where U.S. military forces are present. As part of this campaign, reports have emerged of an attack on a fuel tanker anchored at Mubarak al-Kabir port in Kuwait. Although full details of the damage have not yet been released, the incident has raised new concerns about energy supply routes in the Middle East. Tensions have risen to such a level that the government of Qatar has instructed civilians to move away from the area surrounding the U.S. Embassy in Doha to safer locations. At the same time, tensions are increasing in the air as well. A ballistic missile from Iran that entered the airspace of Turkey was reportedly intercepted by the air defense system of NATO. This development has further complicated the situation, raising fears that the conflict could expand even more widely. The impact of the war is also being felt inside Israel. From early morning, warning sirens began sounding repeatedly in various cities across the country. Fearing possible missile attacks, residents rushed to shelters and safe locations. This situation indicates that the conflict has now reached a direct and escalating level between the two sides. Amid the escalating tensions, another important development has emerged. A 3-day memorial ceremony was scheduled to begin on Wednesday in remembrance of Iran's late supreme leader Ali Khamenei. However, due to the ongoing war situation, the event has been postponed indefinitely. According to analysts, authorities likely feared that a gathering of millions of people during wartime could pose serious security risks. diplomatic efforts to calm the situation have seen little success. In the U.S. Congress, a proposal was introduced to halt the war and require congressional approval before any new military action could be taken. However, the proposal ultimately failed to pass in the U.S. Senate. Instead, the majority of senators supported the Iran campaign associated with Donald Trump. In the vote, the resolution calling for restraint was rejected by 53 votes to 47. As a result, there are currently no clear political signals suggesting that the conflict will end soon. Overall, the situation in the Middle East remains extremely critical. Each day brings new reports of attacks, counterattacks, and military preparations. Analysts warn that the involvement of major world powers could make the conflict even more devastating. The key question now is whether the conflict will stop here or gradually draw the entire Middle East into a much larger war. For now, the whole world is watching closely to see how the situation unfolds.